All right, looks like we're good. I'm going to just double check. Yep, we're all set. Excellent. We'll go ahead and get started. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Jamie Chavez. I'm the president and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and I'm delighted to spend my day today speaking with candidates for the upcoming election. Each candidate joining me today has a direct impact on Westminster, whether at the county or state level. So I'm pleased to introduce Representative Shannon Bird, who is running for House District 29. Since we only have 10 minutes with each candidate today, we'll dive right in and give them as much time as possible to share their thoughts and plans with you. So Representative Bird, thank you for joining us. We'll start with an introduction to yourself and tell our viewers why you are running.
Great. So first, thank you so much for hosting this forum and for inviting me. I'm delighted to come and speak with your membership. I have been your elected representative for most of the city of Westminster since 2019, and it has been my delight and honor to serve the people of Westminster in our state's capital. My background professionally, I'm a public finance and commercial finance attorney, and worked for years representing banks, businesses, developers as we constructed highways, public schools, and hospitals. And I've been able to take a lot of my private sector experience and understanding of how to negotiate compromise and solutions to the Capitol. I've been able to do good work, particularly in the area of affordable housing and public education, higher education affordability. These have been some of my goals. Also, public safety has been work that I have found myself more involved in recently. And I've been delighted to do it and am excited to go back. There's more to do. I will just say one of the biggest goals I have on the affordable housing front is to finally address the challenge of construction defects. This has been a problem that has perplexed the state of Colorado since at least the early 2000s. And I'm currently right now working on our proposed legislation for this next year to try to bring insurance back into the market and get more mid-priced condominiums constructed in our state again.
Great. Okay, well, we'll start with a few questions. What do you believe is the most pressing issue facing our community, and how do you plan to address it?
Thank you. It's a great question. The most pressing issue, I think, for most people is cost of living. And a huge driver of cost of living is the cost of either purchasing a home or rental. I mentioned earlier in my previous comment that one of our big challenges is that our housing market is no longer working. For at least a decade, if not 2 decades, we have not been building an entire segment of our housing stock, and that is mid-priced condominiums. So I think that we can really move the needle in housing affordability if we can work hard to increase supply and get our market working the way that it should, so that people who are able to purchase a home have a market in which to do so, and that we are not creating an entire generation of renters.
Great. And how do you plan to engage with local businesses and chambers of commerce to foster economic growth?
Also a great question. This is something I do regularly in my work at the Capitol. Right now, I chair the Joint Budget Committee, and so I don't have as much of an initial touch on a lot of business legislation at the Capitol, but previous to that, I served on the Business and Labor Affairs Committee and also chaired the House Finance Committee. And as part of my regular stakeholding work, I always conducted work with our chambers, as our chambers are a direct link to our local business communities and are often have that touch and ability to bring in the people who are on the ground doing the work directly to the Capitol and have them weigh in on critical pieces of legislation. I continue to do that in my capacity as a member of the Joint Budget Committee. I just do it a little bit later in a bill's process when it's my colleagues' bills, but always want to have the time to meet with our business community and understand how our legislation impacts what you do.
Wonderful, thank you. And you mentioned construction defects, but in addition, what specific legislation do you plan to introduce or support that would benefit this district?
Well, specifically, we will be protecting our investment in public education. So last cycle, I carried the bill and wrote the budget that fully funded our public schools for the first time in 14 years. It was a tremendous achievement. Of course, I was able to carry the legislation, but our General Assembly had bipartisan support for this work. As we head into a difficult budget year, this will be work that we are struggling to support and protect and make sure that other priorities don't creep in and degrade the work that we've had. Also, expanded investment and work making sure that more students have access to career and technical education. So if you're going to go to college, we want to make sure that that's accessible to you, but also making sure that our public schools remain nimble. And if a student isn't going to go on to higher education, but they'd like to start their career sooner, we need to make sure that we are continuing to work with our high schools and middle schools, frankly, to make sure they have the resources and structures in law to be nimble and provide students with all of the best preparation.
Great, thank you. And how will you work across party lines to achieve meaningful change in the state legislature?
That is very easy. Despite what the media will tell most people, we are a very bipartisan chamber for the most of us are. And this is something that is a hallmark of my leadership in the legislature. I am one of the most bipartisan legislators. I find that we have the best solutions that come about when we're working together. Democrats don't have all the answers. Republicans don't have all the answers. But when you have people with different perspectives who come together and have a true desire to solve a problem, we come up with the best answers working together for the people of Colorado.
Great. And how will you ensure that the voices of local governments and residents are heard at the state level?
I am delighted to say that I have come from local government myself. My first bout of true elected public service was as a member of the Westminster City Council. So I understand the need to be thoughtful, that not every city is exactly the same. Also, local control is something that's important, allowing our local leaders, and that's not just our local elected leaders, but it's our local communities decide what they're going to look like, what their priorities are. And then being on the state level, respecting that has been a value of mine. In fact, we've had lots of statewide legislation that has tried to encroach upon local control in meaningful ways that I haven't agreed with, and I have worked to try to improve those bills or have voted against them. Making sure we respect what each community wants is important.
Great. And what are your top three priorities? I know you've mentioned a couple already, but what are your top three priorities if elected, and how will they benefit our constituents?
So my priorities are the basics. Government should be effective at doing the things people expect it to do. And I don't know that we need a lot of bells and whistles. So my first priority is solving the construction defects challenge and getting property and casualty insurance back into this market, building a better housing supply so that people can afford a place to live in the state again. Another priority of mine is protecting the state's investment in public education and continuing our work on college affordability as well. Last legislative session, I ran a bill in partnership with our governor to make the first 2 years of college, community college, or trade schools free for students coming from families making $90,000 a year or less. I want to continue on that work. A third priority would be continued management of our state's work to address behavioral and mental health care. We have a deficit in that area. Not enough people can get the care that they need, and trying to be thoughtful about making the state a constructive partner in solving that is a key goal of mine.
Great, thank you. And what steps will you take to ensure transparency and accountability in your office?
That is also a key hallmark of mine. Since I've been in office, I've held over 100 town halls and community coffees. I plan to continue doing that work. I find that taking hard votes gets a lot easier when constituents understand what it is I'm voting on and what we're being asked to do on their behalf, and always showing our work so that people understand. And I think people enjoy their government and respect the work of government more when they know why we're doing what we're doing. So I look forward to continuing that and more community coffees and town halls to come in the next 2 years.
Awesome. That's great. I think you've got just under a minute left. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the viewers and the voters?
I would just like to say that serving the city of Westminster as your elected state representative has been my greatest professional honor and privilege. I've been grateful to do the work. Every time I knock on a door or speak to a constituent, answer questions, help solve problems, it renews my faith in our community and also in the ability of responsible government to really be a partner and do the important work that we expect it to do. I hope to continue to do that on your behalf. I think we need champions of civility, champions of problem solving, those of us who want to go to the Capitol and solve problems and not be out there for social media clicks. There's real work to be done. Government is serious business. We should be supportive of all the incredible things that our business community is doing. And I plan to continue being that partner with you if
Great.
I'm elected for
Great.
my final term.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here with us today and with our viewers. And we will continue to do these interviews throughout the day. So just really appreciate your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It was a delight.
Have a great one.
You too.